From the introduction so far, the entire correction depends greatly on the dissemination of the wisdom of Kabbalah. And in general, we see on Kabbalists that they invest their whole life only on that.
Yes, as much as possible in the generation. There were those who only taught, like Baal Shem Tov. There were those who disseminated it later on, and more. But all in all, for the maximum expansion of the wisdom.
So, with respect to that direction, what does the work of connection in the 10, working on connection, add to it? How does it complete it?
The quality, or unity, rather, unity. You have no wisdom, you have nothing to disseminate if you don't come together as tens and disseminate. That's what Baal Shem Tov did most especially. That being, he connected his students together into groups, and by that he showed everyone that this is how one should disseminate the Torah. Minyan, the group of 10 for the prayer, it's a very, very ancient concept. It comes to us from Yitro, from Moses, from those generations. If you receive the Torah, if you want to apply it to the shattered vessels to correct them, in order to even begin you need to begin to enter the desert and to begin to attain it, even the degrees of Binah. You cannot attain unless you're organized into tens. Yes.
So, the tens, they add power to the dissemination? I mean, what does it do?
No, the tens, you study in the 10, in tens, you're organized into tens, and then you have a connection to the source of the light, because you create then a vessel which is suitable for the light, and then you are thus able to properly receive the message of the Upper One, to dilute it, to simplify it, to adapt it for dissemination, and to begin to work in various ways through the 10.
So it turns out that a person's ability to pass the message depends on how much he has a connection with the 10. This is what enables the method to flow and...
Yes. Otherwise it's not... whatever happens, if he's running around by himself without a 10, he won't be disseminating the wisdom of Kabbalah. It's not the wisdom of Kabbalah that will come from him, meaning the wisdom of connection, in which you can discover the Creator. What are you disseminating? It's a wisdom, a method, by which the 10 connect together, establishes conditions which are pseudo-spiritual, you could say, and then it becomes a receiver for the godly power, right, the divine power. That's the power of the Minyan, the 10. And when they receive that, they become as 10 sfirot, as the goof of the Partzuf. They, through equivalence of form between them, they begin to absorb, to receive that power into them in Rosh Toch Sof, and then they become not only receivers, but also processors. They process what they attain, and they attain it actually, and they also give birth to the next Partzuf under them, and they fill it, and then they correct in that way. They correct the whole of creation. Without organizing into tens, you cannot do anything. You are an outcome of the shattering, and you need to return back to being 10 sfirot. Yes?
So, the necessity for dissemination that we see in Kabbalists, where does that come to them from? Does it come through their connection with 10? Or is it some impulse? I mean, where does this need to always convey the message come from?
The need to pass on this method is, if you want to bestow contentment to the Creator, you have no other action you can do. By the purpose of creation, you need to reach equivalence of form. How do you come to equivalence of form with the Creator? The same way the Creator cares for the created beings to correct them and fulfill them, you extend His action in whatever way you're given. How else can you identify with Him? It's like parents, for example. It's said that husband and wife, when they connect together, they are doing God's work. It's not called a coupling, zivug, in spirituality for nothing. Right? That's how we call it also in the wisdom, and birth, and so on.
An act of connection of the 10, doesn't that cause contentment? When the 10 reaches this connection, doesn't it bring contentment to the Creator?
Yes, it does, but it's not sufficient.
So what's the difference?
It gives contentment because it's doing preparatory work, but how does it extend correction in the world? What does it give birth to? How? Only by going out to disseminate. Only by doing other actions that come out of it. And not that it's doing it. I mean, you could say that each one has many shattered vessels, so they just need to correct them. But they can't correct them. They can only reach bestowing in order to bestow in a minimal form. Chafetz chesed, seeking grace, living in the forest with nothing to live for, right? In order to live for something more, well, you need a king's daughter, and then you can do the act of dissemination, the act of scrutiny, correction. Yes.
So, what precisely does a 10 give birth to by performing dissemination? When you have dissemination, what does it beget that gives contentment?
More vessels. Additional vessels in which they can extend their action. The 10 expands, you could say. It gives birth to more and more forms of bestowal. By that, it's similar to the Creator. If you don't take external vessels and try somehow to build from them some acts of bestowal, or within them, then you're not similar to the Creator. You're not called Adam, human. Yes, Moti.
Can you explain from